part two.
Okay, perfect. We're back, everybody. Picking up with general fund revenues. Natalie, if you don't mind hitting the high points there for us, please.
Sure, good evening. General fund revenues as a projection, as a draft for tonight's meeting, or meeting of 4/20. There were some changes that I made since last work session discussion, but I'll go over the items that have changed or have significant increase or decrease with explanations. Our main source of revenue is real property, is the first line item on page 1. And this projection based on assessments, amount received at current rate of 0.8275, which with no change of a rate will give us 328,000, I'm rounding to the nearest thousands for the short conversation going forward, of an increase or 6.7%. Public utility tax, there is a slight decrease of 17,000, just basically I am projecting it based on prior year's actual amounts received. Room tax will be recalculated. This number is stated here incorrect. We discussed it, I changed it, and then I went into a little bit more details. For the past 3 years, taking the average and add an additional amount for the county, pass an additional percent for the room tax. If everything stays unchanged, the projected revenue should be exactly at $103,000. I am actually inclined to leave this projected amount at 90s with no change, add an additional 18,000 for 1% increase based on perfect scenario that county will receive exact amount of revenues in room tax. If we will receive additional 18,000, this funds will be placed in parking account. I don't want to call it a reserve at this point, but for right now, it's going to be just a description. If we receive over 90,000 plus 18, then the funds will be shifted to a separate line item.
There was a little discussion about how they would be split. I think Councilmember Orris asked me the question earlier, and I just want to make sure that I'm stating this correctly, if not that it's corrected, that when we say a 1% going into the parking fund, like for each dollar that comes in, let's say it's 100% of that dollar, the 5% of the original room tax, so i.e. 16 point something percent, because 6% makes up the whole, or 6 pieces make up the whole pie. It's like 16% per slice. So 16% of that would go to the parking fund when it exceeds, I'm talking circles. Yeah, I'm losing myself too. I'm sorry.
But
I described it perfectly to him. I'm losing myself.
I do
in
realize
this discussion.
that the resolution that's on for Monday probably needs to be
Clarified.
reworded. Yeah,
So
that was a
yeah,
real
the way
lazy
that I
on my
understand
part.
this, right?
That's what would you like?
So this is what I understand. $90,000 is our base revenue that we predict for the general fund coming in from room tax.
The projection.
Correct. Anything north of that, right, gets a split. So a portion of it goes to parking, a portion of it goes to the general fund, right? So if, so 100 divided by 6 for the 6% of room tax, 16 cents of every dollar would go to parking that comes in north of 90,000. That's the way I understand how we want to structure this.
So you can treat it differently. You can treat it 2 ways.
Okay.
You can say the 90,000, what we projected, if we receive 90,000.
We'll call that like our base rate.
We call it as a base, and that goes as it was projected for the general fund. Anything above 90,000 exceeded over will be placed to a parking.
That would be the case.
If we
for
do
the
not
Saturday.
collect 90,000,
But then it never keeps pace, because the 90,000 has grown over time.
correct.
So what I think is a more prudent approach is that we have used that 5% of room tax revenue for certain general fund obligations.
Correct.
So what I think is that every dollar that comes in, 16 cents of that should go into, north of the 90,000, 16 cents of that should go into the
So you basically
Parking
want to
fund.
see how much we have received at the end of the year. Take 1%
well, not 1%.
Yeah,
It would be
so-
16% north of 90,000.
Well, how do you derive 16% if the increase is only 1%?
Because the room tax is 5%. That's how we got the 90,000. So then, if we go up by 1%, taking it to 6,000, it went from 20% per percent to now 16%. So that, we wanna capture that additional revenue for parking only, but still keep the base rate of the 5% that comes in for general fund expenditures.
But what if it's not a good year, and we didn't get 90,000?
Then,
We're still gonna allocate 16% of it to the.
I don't think
parking?
so.
Well,
In
that's-
that
that's
theory,
where
your base would be $90,000.
But that's where I'm trying to clarify.
But she's saying if you have a year where you get less than 90, then you don't have any excess.
You wouldn't have a contribution to the parking
Right,
fund, you would
right.
keep your general fund obligation.
But by you saying that regardless of 60% goes to the parking, you don't have the budgeted amount as the start point. That means anything that you receive, this, my second version was to see how much we have collected for the full year.
Okay.
June 30th come, you have 100,000. And you take
10,000 and move it to the
1,000
park.
and move it to the parking, that's the
That's
cleanest
easier,
way to do,
way
the easiest
easier.
way to do.
Jack, when you first made your motion, what was your intent here?
Oh, well, the intent was, I mean, I understand the mayor's point about adjustments, but the idea was just to make it clean. So like if our base is 90 and we get an extra 20 yielded from the 1%, we just take the 20, put it to parking.
That's the way I have.
That was the,
But the base is my
But-
projection based on prior years. If we could, I mean, I hope we receive 200,000.
yeah, no, so I see what
And
you're
take
saying too now. but you
1%
have a base.
out of it
Yeah.
and place it to the parking.
I
But
mean,
we
that
could
would be-
receive 89,000, so I would not suggest you setting up the base of a 90, because that number will change to fiscal 27, 28, 29.
And that's the mayor's point.
Well, yeah, my thought on that was is that it keeps your growth for the general fund while also satisfying the parking fund request, but it doesn't really starve out the general fund of a.
So just set a percent, you can set 1%, you wanna set 2%, it doesn't matter, you can set 50%. Set a percent, at the end of the year, we will see how much we have collected in room tax, and a percent of a room tax will go to the bucket.
Then if we're gonna use up, you're at 103,000, and we were previously projecting about 90. So why don't we say a 10% split to parking and 90%
Regardless of whether
split?
you're-
My 103,000 is the average for
I-
3 year
Okay,
last
alright,
years.
so
It's
is
a
that,
projection.
would that be okay with the group, a 90-10 split? 10% going
Yes,
to
I would
parking?
just ask you to decide a percent. Pick a percent, fix it, we will put in resolution, and then at the end of the year,
That
that
makes sense.
percent will be multiplied into how much revenue we receive and will be placed in the parking.
Is everybody okay with a
Won't that
90-10
be hard to
split?
achieve a revenue neutral for the lease we have on the parking lot?
Yeah, but I
That was
mean,
the ultimate goal,
but no, that wasn't the goal, the goal was,
for that parking to be revenue neutral.
well, oh
Parking-
yes,
parking
but not
was
satisfied by
revenue.
this.
No, it won't be
Correct.
satisfied.
But we wanna get.
We wanna get as close as we can, but we had no revenue streams, and now by this, we have a
If
revenue.
you take half for the general fund, that's reducing that money that could potentially go to parking.
If,
I'm sorry,
hold on, I'm not following
Yeah,
that.
it's hard to.
You're saying basically take the excess and apply some to the general fund.
No, what we've gotten to now is that you take that total number, a 90-10 split, 90% goes to the general fund, no matter what it is,
Of the total.
10%
What
goes
we
to
allocated
the parking.
Yeah,
is
so
taking a
that-
small percent from the revenue of room tax. Right now, the discussion was 1%, because that's the increase the county passed on to the room tax as an increase. I'm saying you don't have to go with 1, it's your decision, the 1 was just a suggestion.
The one
You
was
can
based on it
go
going
with
from 5 to 6.
5% from the total revenue
Total fund,
collected
okay.
and place it to the
Yes.
parking. If you would like to keep it as 1%, so example, if we collect 100 at fiscal 27, end of it, we will place $10,000 on a separate account.
I think a
Or
90-10 split's easy to
You
understand.
can always adjust it later. You could, you know, in a given year, you could elect to do 50% or 100% or whatever. So you're not, this is a starting point.
Okay, right, that was the goal too, it wasn't But, so with the resolution that's coming, it'll be reworked and
Yes.
reworded.
Yes.
That can just simply be adjusted.
It'll just
by
be,
council action, right?
of the room tax revenues received, 10% will be allocated to a parking fund, however that's worded.
Well,
It
I
makes
would
it
like
easier.
to have that
So
percent
then
for
I
the
guess
budget
it's-
introduction, because I would place that parking as a capital offset, so that's not utilized by general fund expenses. What I'm saying is, I would like to know how much we're set into the parking, so we'll be budget neutral at the end of the budget adoption.
So if you're gonna put 103,000 in as the
As a
place,
projection.
yep, then put 10% of that going to parking. The remaining part used
I am
for,
leaving 90,000 as a budgetary amount.
okay, well then if that's the case, then just 10% of that would be 9,000 to parking.
Right. So your column here, 26, 27 DH request, you're gonna change 126,000
To 90.
to 90.
Yep.
And I would have a note underneath that 10% will be placed to a capital for parking.
Yes, and let's make sure that the action item for the mayor and council includes the establishment of that fund. That way
So
it's done.
ultimately, with that scenario, a $9,000 right now will be added as an expense to the general fund budget,
Okay, that's fine.
just to explain it.
Thank you. Is everybody okay with that? The split?
I figured there had to be a
And 10%
mathematical way to
is
get there.
agreeable upon, right?
I think so. Thank you.
Once you distill it down, it's easy.
That marks the town's first step toward parking revenue. That is a giant step for me.
Next item is admission tax, is a slight decrease just based on the trend from the prior years of a 10,000. State income tax, I have, looked at the projections and recalculated the average. I'm actually increasing that to 700,000. We are at 625, and with the income tax being filed, so I can see we will complete that amount.
Thank you.
Business license, a slight increase for 10,000. Business license is including short-term, long-term, and business license actual amounts.
Thank you.
Highway user revenues, the projections are remain at 400,000. I have not received any other amounts. As of last letter, the projection was at 400 and 200 round into 400.
Just for the public, we're likely to see that decrease potentially next year. So just as a, I hope not, but just as an FYI.
Highway user revenues fund, street projects, street equipment,
Yep.
and that's very needed. Page 2, the RC and Reconnect project grant, we just carry forward that as a project and as a revenue till further affirmative. The Main Street, there is a slight increase for one particular reason. Ivy applying for grants, and she receives grants every year to fund music during the events, Christmas, and ice sculpture, and I would like to reflect that in that account just to offset the expenditure on the economic development.
Thank you.
County grant is the same amount. Facade grant, the line above, is a decrease, but I confirm
Pause for just a
those.
second if we can. Has anybody heard any movement on the municipality side for funding from the commissioners?
Another meeting.
And their second budget work session tomorrow. Yeah, I've attended the first one. There was nothing about municipality.
Okay, thank you.
Facade grant is offset by the facade grant expenses, and those funds are available for the business owners to apply. The slight increase for speeding camera fees, those amounts are allocated to the capital for police department, funded for vehicles, and there's 42,500 increase for that. For, help me, some
The
camera
re-tiering of the funds.
camera contract. Everything for general overhead will be recalculated once we, kind of make it more affirmative for the utility funds. As a reminder, general overhead calculated for the, taken personnel cost for admin finance, elected officials, planning department, benefit cost, and then allocated by the percent based on each utility fund, how much they have as the bottom line less the capital projects. So there's a formula derived and multiplied in that, and each fund contribute back to the general fund to carry the overhead of the personnel cost. The reimbursements amounts, they're small amounts, they will be recalculated as well, once we close the funds. Impact fees, we're decreasing that just for the uncertainty, for the constructions that will be in fiscal 27, but it is budget neutral. We have that offset it going to the impact fees capital projects. I'm leaving the interest earned at the same amount, hoping we will complete, we will receive more than projected, but the same amount of $500,000, also, it's a very good number. Going to page 3. Not many changes until we go to contribution from reserves, and those pretty much a carry forward project, as I mentioned earlier. What's not been completed from the prior years, we budget and carry over the funding for those projects. We have set $200,000 in prior year for community center. We have not completed, so I rebudget that and also carry forward the $200,000 from reserves. Impact fee studies, that's a not new but a new item. With a new amount, you have passed that motion in last Monday and decreased the amount from 50 to 37,325. I'm putting exact amount that was approved, and that's funded by impact fees, so those funds will be advanced.
Now, the reason we're keeping this on is because the project extends into the next fiscal year.
We actually met with John Hickman and several of his staff earlier today.
Okay.
And part of the discussion was about when
Timing.
what would be built. So this will probably
Be absorbed in
adjust.
27.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You will see $250,000 funded by slot revenue scoliosis. It's probably going to be the last time we will see this amount. Those monies are carried forward because we pay for the next year. So this was stated on our multi-year plan when we submitted, so I just want to show that amount. That is not actual amount taken from the slot revenues that are projected on fiscal 27. That's from prior year. Rails and Trails, the grant and our account match is a carry forward project. Most likely will change a little bit of direction and description as we move forward, but we would like to show those amounts broken down as available. Roadway valuation update funded by impact fees for $50,000. You will see that item in the later on in the streets. Yes, in the street part. Town hall renovation, the $3,156,693 is what was approved, including all the options that we discussed. And come to discussion, inclusive to that, $105,000 is needed for IT renovation, abandonment of the well, and missing something else, water and sewer infrastructure, that we did not include that, and those are must items to be done for the town hall renovation. That's pretty much it for the contribution from reserves. Bond loan receipt, this is public works fund. I'm not changing this amount so far, but I will once we go for introduction, because we have expended some monies for design, and that will be covered from the bond. So overall, if you look at the bottom line, it's pretty much the same as fiscal 26. There is a slight increase due to some changes, but we pretty much kept revenues unchanged. The $17,560,000 will be passed on and spread among the departments. Right now, we are running on 400 plus deficit to close. We will discuss it at later terms, but to balance the budget, we will have to match that number to expenses.
Thank you. Now, I do want to go back up on page 2, or bottom of the page with the interest earned. We said it last year, but way to go for you and the finance team for advocating for that increased interest rates that we get and yielding that return for the taxpayers. So
Thank you. It also was a big help because we kept, to share a secret, we kept ARPA in a special account all these years, not touching it, earning the interest. And once we've now completed all the project, we're gonna shift that account. So it will decrease a little bit. That's why I'm putting it at the same amount.
Okay, great work still nonetheless. And then when everybody sees contribution from reserves, they start to think that it's like a $4 million pull. keep in mind, this is what President Fitzgerald was talking about, sitting there saying, hey, look, last year you added this, and you added this, and you added this. This is where you see that, right? That's that carry forward of those projects that are now being somewhat expensed.
Yeah.
So, all right, any comments from the council regarding items 4 or 5 on our agenda tonight?
Natalie, just real quick, you go back to page 1, you brushed on it, I just wanted to clarify. For the public utility tax and the state income tax, well, actually, I'm sorry, for the public utilities tax, you basically decreased it 17,000 on the three prior years, is that correct?
Yes, looking at prior years and what we have received so far, 99, I'm just going conservative to 100, 17,000 increase.
And then the state income tax is pretty much the same, you went up 100,000, but we're just being cautious.
Well, if you look at fiscal 25, we're at 625, a little bit over. But if we look at fiscal 26, and then we look at fiscal 25, it's 711.
Okay.
So that's
Decrease a little bit each year.
100,000 increase I'm hoping for. Normally I have some projections set before June, so I will also look at the projections and we'll firm that number before we go for the introduction. Adoption.
Any other questions for Natalie? If not, we're gonna move on to items, actually, Mary, go ahead with the operational overview.
In the interest of keeping it brief, and actually, because I thought Natalie would have beat me to this, so that everyone understands, the general fund consists of elected officials, admin, finance and customer service, buildings and grounds, police, public works, sanitation, and streets, economic development, planning and parks. Basically everything except the utilities, which are enterprise funds. As always, our town departments work very hard throughout the year to do the most with the least. And that doesn't quite sound right, but what I mean is they are as fiscally responsible as anyone could be in making sure that projects and activities are taking place and meeting the needs of the community. A couple of big projects under the general fund in the coming year are obviously town hall renovation and hopefully movement on the public works facility, getting that ground broken and starting, as well as the comp plan update and the impact fee update. So that's very much a nutshell.
Okay, with somewhat flat revenues.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for that. Up next is agenda item 7A, and we'll move on to elected officials. Kelsey, do you want to start us with the step and the COLA for the year, and then any of the stuff at the top that we want to cover?
Yes, I actually have it all right now. So
Okay.
What I've included in the budget is one step, which is 2.5%, and then a 2% COLA for staff. We had the 12% healthcare increase, which that will come down. I'll make those adjustments. We had no changes to ADP. We do have a $10 increase to drug testing and DOT physicals for all of our staff that require them. Last year we did away with the Food Lion gift cards, and we added that $50 to our one-time payment for staff that comes around the holidays, making that payment $350. That's included in here. Workers' compensation, last year, I mentioned this during the internal meetings, but last year we budgeted appropriately, but our audit came in not great. We had a lot of overtime, and that really has a major impact on workers' comp, so there was an adjustment that was needed this year to kind of make us even, and then on top of that, we did a 14.5% increase. I don't know what it's gonna come in at, but I did 14.5 because we're looking at a 4.5% increase for pay, and it is tied to pay. And then I did a 10% just while we're kind of waiting to hear what they say on that renewal. And if you guys recall, that one does typically come in a little later, but that's just the explanation there. Let's see, 12% increase for legit. That's our liability insurance. You will see that increased in some departments, maybe down in others. It also depends on if they're selling vehicles, if they're buying vehicles, if we're adding equipment to that department. So all those things factor into there, but that was a 12% increase. And again, I don't have a final number yet. All of those things kind of come in last minute for me, unfortunately. Let's see, retirement is directly related to salary, so any adjustments there are straight from the pay. And then anniversary gift cards, we left those in there at $10 annual for all employees. If you hit a 5-year mark, it's a $20 gift card. And if you hit a 10-year mark, it's a $40 gift card. And we offer those for employees to pick a local business, and then we go pick those gift cards up. So we're also kind of supporting our local businesses there. And then I just want to say, I know that I'm getting out of a turn here a little bit. When it comes to personnel tonight, I do ask that you all be mindful, and I'm not saying there's been any talk of taking those steps or COLAs out, but just be mindful of any reductions for employees. And I say that, I try to advocate for our employees every year, but I also don't feel like we're really asking for much here. You know, I think that, as Mary said, we are trying to do as much as we can, do more with less, and again, that's not a dig at anyone. I just think we're facing a lot of unexpected infrastructure issues that are coming up, and where we're gonna get the funding for that, supply issues, difficulty filling vacancies. You know, we're feeling all of that. And right now, our time in filling positions is going up. We're not getting as many applicants. We're not getting quality applicants. It's just become challenging, and we need to stay competitive, as you know, as Dave Fitzgerald said too. I mean, we see the other places going up, and we're trying to just kind of stay on par with them, but it's tough. But without our employees, we can't keep the town moving, and then the guidance of all the directors and you all here tonight, we wouldn't be able to operate. So I know you all are faced with tough decisions when it comes to the budget, but I do ask that you be mindful of what we've put in for personnel, because I don't feel like we've really asked for anything too crazy here. So thank you all.
I think
And thank
we're
you
being
for-
prudent with the taxpayer dollars.
Yes, yeah.
But
Thank you.
I'd also like to add that this council, I feel, put staffing as a priority for funding.
They have, yes. And that we've seen a major increase or willingness from you guys over the last few years, I would definitely say.
The
So
step and grade system makes
Yeah.
a huge.
people like knowing what.
It's
they're
so much
projected
easier to
do.
just say, hey, look, where are we going with this? Like,
Yeah.
it's way easier. to
And thank you for not passing anything along to the employees with the increase for the healthcare. I think, you know, I can speak for probably everybody in here that we all appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stop now.
That's all right. I'm gonna pick up on elected officials.
Mayor,
Kate.
if I could address the same thing, but I do feel a lot of pressure. Meeting with departments, not pressure, but I feel their responsibilities and professionalism when they come discuss the budget. They always say that, I know I need this, but I cannot ask for that. So people operate on our aging infrastructure, and they feel very responsible. All the events and all the clean streets and the parks maintained and everything is there. I think we do need to appreciate the personnel and our largest and biggest and most important asset. So I do wanna ask if we could step up on the COLA a little bit, just comparing with the other towns and what we have seen. We have the same COLA percentage for quite a few years and the same. I mean, a slight increase, maybe 2.5, so it would equal 5% total and not 4.5 would be greatly appreciated.
So you said, so to take the COLA from a step plus 3.5% instead of 2.5%?
Right.
Well, it's right now, it's
It's
2.5 and 2.
It's 2.5
She's
and
saying
2,
go to
I'm
2.5.
asking if we could do COLA 2.5 and a step 2.5, so at least it would match to each other.
Oh, I see, okay, so on the
It's
step,
0.5%.
right, so it's 5%.
So the step, each step is 2.5.
Right.
And like, we don't do the compression model like what the fire company was talking about. And they're doing their typical steps plus 3%. We're at a step for us across the entire system is 2.5%. And then the town, in this budget includes a 2% COLA.
Right, so yeah, sorry, I had it, right, so how much?
I don't know, I didn't know she was gonna ask that,
So
so
we,
I don't.
I feel like tonight,
We
Yeah.
haven't calculated, but I able to have a little bit off from the insurance that we budgeted, it's gonna be way over covered
Right.
by.
Yeah, that's kind of, with the health insurance change tonight, I feel like it's gonna be very opaque tonight, we're not gonna have a real clear picture.
Right.
So, I'm certainly be interested in hearing that number, I guess, that's why I'm kind of, with the health insurance change, not knowing exactly what that savings is. Certainly open to it, I just think tonight will be a little bit even more challenging than it usually is because of the lateness of the renewal. Love hearing the savings, but, so anyway.
But if you agree on that idea, I can recalculate the reports once we're ready and we send it, obviously you're gonna see it for the introduction and before that.
Alright, let's go to,
Is it a?
Yes, that's a yes.
I mean, we wanna see what the number is.
Yeah, we want to see what the
Because
number
it also impacts other numbers.
Yeah, we want to see what the number is.
Well, I don't have it at 2.5, but I did budget out, I have it at 2, 3, and 4, just because I didn't know what the ask would be and what the result would be. So I can tell you an in-between number in a minute. Just give me a second.
Give us the in-between number.
Yeah, I'll just need a
Now,
minute.
what number is that?
I need a second, it's a lot to look at.
Can I cover
Yeah, I was
elected
gonna say,
officials?
why
if you
don't
don't
we-
mind?
Yeah, I say
Alright.
move on.
So, elected officials, page 4, we're gonna pick that up at postage and work down. You'll notice that if you look at the far right-hand side, that shows the percentage change for each one of the line items. Everything we're gonna cover with the exception of the cell phones, that's a 17% increase, is a decrease from last year's budget. You'll see office supplies and printing going down. We're out of town hall. We don't need those things. We'll probably be out of town hall half of this fiscal year budget. So we're going down on those items. Realize, that's $3,500. It's not grand in the whole scheme of things, but know that those expenditures may go up once we're back in town hall. But right now, we think that that's sufficient. You'll see employee training that does cover the MML fall conference as well as the MML summer conference for all 7. Sometimes we get a wash. Some more folks might want to go to fall, and then it kind of evens itself out. Special appropriations, that's flowers, things like that, that the town sends. You will see that the general fund covers 6 elected, so the elected body plus 1 full-time equivalent. That's it. And there's a $13,000, almost $14,000 increase or a 5% increase from last year. Any questions regarding the elected officials budget? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to administration. Mary, if you don't mind covering the full-time equivalents and then picking it up at professional services.
The full-time equivalents are the admin department, and I'm sorry, my brain has gone blank on 5.
Pete Gaskell.
Yep.
Oh, yes, of course. He's not here, so I
Well, good.
didn't see him. So that would be the town administrator, human resources director, special projects administrator, administrative assistant, and legal advisor.
Thank you.
And he's considered a contractor.
Nope.
No,
He's a
he is an
full-time
employee,
employee.
yes.
Yep.
Other than that, I'll just kind of hit high points. The, under contracted services, the big changes there are engineering services and planning consultant services. These are not new budget amounts, but Natalie and I discussed and moved things around within the general fund a little bit. So what's reflected here may have been reflected in planning in the past. It's not new, it's just in a different place than you've seen previously. The next item, capital outlay equipment, the emergency preparedness radios. Actually, Mayor, I'm gonna let you speak to that.
Yes, actually, I don't mind at all. So you'll see 3 emergency radios placed in the general fund budget. You're gonna see 1 in water resources and 1 in electric. So, is there 1 in yours as well?
I'm sure we're putting one in there, but.
We put them under admin. So we tucked them all in Mary's budget.
It's 3.
Yeah, three in Mary's and then 1 in each one of the utility funds. So the reason is we repurposed the PD radios, but they got a significant amount of age on them with the storms and stuff. We have the collaboration with the fire company, and it's worked out really well, especially over the winter storms that we've had. So with that, we operate a little bit more on the town of Berlin channel. You'll remember that the police department radios that they acquired, This is a step-down model of that. If we were to buy that radio, it'd be double the price basically. So this is gonna cover what we need, integrate with the 911 system, work on the town talk group as well as the bricks, and then also aid us in the storm side of things. So there are 3 radios at $3,500 a pop, and you'll see one more in electric and one more in water. Any questions on that?
The next area that shows a significant increase is website. The town's website is outdated, doesn't really meet modern standards, and the back end of it is actually beginning to fail. So this would be a design upgrade for the website, as well as a very nominal monthly increase for the hosting of the domain.
You bid that out or keep the same provider?
Same provider. We would not be able to meet their price, we know that going in. Those are really the main highlights. There are nominal increases, decreases throughout the rest, but nothing.
I do want to note for the group, we had Berlin Fire Company in here asking for $769,350 in fire funding, $689,000 in EMS funding, a total of $1,400,000 and some change. You'll notice that we kept 5100, 5607, 5608, and 5609 unchanged. That's because we're looking at a $400,000 deficit in the general fund. So we are looking for some direction on how we meet the fire company's request with the financial picture that we have in the general fund. So keep that in your all's mind as well moving forward. All right. Anything else for admin? Any questions on admin?
I will just point out that Mike is here from InterRisk Variety. This is a very, very quiet, really, IT year for the town. Kind of status quo on most things. There will be some additional expense, or I shouldn't say additional, but out of the ordinary expense as we near the end of the town hall renovation project for IT to come in and do some kind of ancillary work there. But if you have any particular questions about IT, he's here.
Not just because you're here. So you mentioned the expenses as town hall towards as an ambitious timetable. So hopefully it will be this fiscal year. You guys back there.
I think it will be in FY '27. Whether it is in calendar year '26
Right.
is going to be.
So, but those additional expenses aren't budgeted for at this point?
Yes.
Not they are.
Some of it's moving equipment. Like that's
Yes.
just.
Yeah, that's why I was just curious why you're here. I mean, from your you guys will just be ready to roll when Mary tells you we have a move-in date?
Yeah, the big project that we will have to do as it pertains to the renovation is the cabling, because they're ripping everything out. So everything needs to be recabled, terminated, patch panels, you have a main distribution frame downstairs, you have an individual one upstairs, everything needs to be done there. That's the big expense. You guys have at planning and zoning a circuit there that was a part of, I guess, a deal with Comcast that was made years and years ago, but you had a modem just sitting there not doing anything. When we did all the movement, we leveraged that, moved some firewalls around and all of that, in order to save you guys some money. When you guys come back in or back in the building, the proposal that we're gonna make is you guys just add a firewall there and keep planning and zoning on its own circuit, because as they do all their work, there's a conduit that runs under the parking lot. We're unsure if we're gonna be able to save that, as they, it's a fiber line and all that's made of glass, so there's a good chance it could break, and replacing that could be very, very costly. So it just makes sense to be paying for planning and zoning thing, just buy an additional firewall, put it in town hall, and call it a day. Moving all that stuff around, new firewall, all of that, it's probably about $10,000 investment there. The cabling is gonna be somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000. It's a very expensive, when it comes to IT or through that lens, that's gonna be expensive. But other than that, as far as Mary just mentioned, it's a very light year. You guys have some small maintenance, like with batteries and your network UPSs, and that's not gonna happen until after we actually move everything back. Everything else in
Thank you.
I also want to say that it's an outstanding service that they provide. I mean, we deal with lots of companies. I deal with a lot of vendors. I deal with ITs from software, Skylar and everything. I mean, we have never had delays in services provided. I call Mike on services that not included in the contract about Tyler and other software, credit card installation, the machine and everything. We never receive a bill for that. I kept him for hours and hours on the phone when the credit card processor was down, and we don't receive anything extra. I mean, we know people we're dealing with. We can dial the phone number with the specific issue. When we move to the visitor center, Mary knows, like the cable in or something not working, I can pick up the phone and they call immediately. Yes, today we have a person with us on site actually plugging in, helping us. I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you. It goes a long way.
And the partnership's reciprocated, we love you guys, and it's great working with you all too, and we're excited, you know, and you guys are excited about getting a new building and all that, we're excited for you too.
Everything's gonna be AI. No
Including
cables.
all
I've seen it in the robot.
Including all
I want
Thank
those
you.
screens.
All right, well, that's a good segue. Let's move into finance.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do have a general fund, this is, so I calculated it as a 1% difference, because I told you I have 2 and I have 3, and then I just cut it in half. So between pay, state retirement, and FICA, it's about $24,000. 24,101 is what I came up with, but.
Round into 25.
Yeah, but again, that's just general fund, and that is just quick
Say that
math
number
here.
again.
24,000.
24,101.
That's the, in between them.
That's the,
That's the
that's the.
paper
The
napkin.
difference between the two divided by 2.
That's finance. Have full-time equivalents and then just professional services.
Finance department, just get the page.
Page 10, for everybody following along.
Finance department, myself, I have 2 accountants and 1 fiscal specialist. Everything was discussed in the personnel cost. There is not many changes, except there is a slight increase for professional services, and those amounts are going to the annual audit and then also single audit and uniform financial reporting that is required to be performed each year. Single audit takes a little bit more time. We receive a lot of grants, and if we spend over 750, which we do, especially with ARPO, it is required a special test and special audit and a different reporting for that, which is our auditors do for the town of Berlin. A slight increase for employee training and travel, for additional training and travel for 1 more employee, and hopefully we can send more people from my department to National J4WA conference, which is very useful for accounting. That's pretty much it. The rest of it, office supplies, we had laptop and laptop equipment in the prior year, so that is not needed longer. There's a small amount planned in case we need some miscellaneous items, which I don't foresee being in the visitor centers, but if chair breaks or something.
Thank you. Any questions regarding finance? If not, we'll roll right into customer accounts. Page 12.
Customer accounts, billing supervisor and 2 customer service representatives. We have increase in contracted services. We outsourcing our printing to mail movers. So everything that we used to print in-house, now going to a third party. They print in, mail it on our behalf, provide envelopes, etc. That including our billing, but also everything miscellaneous. For example, we'll be sending a renewal for business license, and that could be outsourced as well, so we don't have to stuff it and mail it and stamp it. There is a Tyler annual support increase because we require 2 more modules, which will include inventory and a module for planning. We were waiting on some updates because they were not incorporated in our credit card processing. Now they're confirming that the payment site is actually built in, so we will see some movement. And I'm probably gonna start doing it from July 1st, just because through the budget, I can't provide them with lots of information at that time, and I'm not helpful, but I wanna be fully involved in those modules. So the increase for that is because they're gonna support two additional modules in the Tyler software. We have talked, looking at this page 13, next page. We have, talked about IT, there's a slight change to the complete service agreement. Other than that, there is pretty much the same amounts. Office supplies is centralized, so all of the office supplies for the entirety of the town is charged to that account, because customer service accounts are split by the percent among all of the funds. General fund, electric and water services, and stormwater as well. We have talked about credit card fees. You see a 0 out there for right now, so we confirm going further. The idea is to pass on the credit card fees process and that the town been observant for all the prior years to a customer. So basically what it means that if a customer pays online with a credit card or at the counter, it would be a surcharge for that transaction. Or if a customer pays with a check online, like a direct debit, it would be a fixed fee. That will eliminate that cost and also decrease the cost it passed on to the utility funds and the general fund.
That would not include debit cards though.
It would be probably different rate, yes, but it would be a fee for that, because the credit card processor charges whether it's a credit debit, but it depended whether it's a Visa or Discover, et cetera, different surcharge.
Yeah.
I will look into the details and we'll give you more information probably after July 1st.
Yeah, 'cause I don't pay a rate for debit card.
I will confirm what it is, I don't have the firm.
And we're gonna transition to payments being processed by Tyler instead of having an intermediary. But go ahead and say what you just said.
It should be passed on.
I agree. And
We've talked
as-
about this for several years, but we've been
Yeah.
trying to.
I'm paying for that completely.
Yep, exactly right. So I think this will be the year that we at least recommend the budget with passing those fees on to the user, so. Alright,
I might adjust that slightly because I don't think we're gonna like kickstart at July 1st. I deleted
You
some,
would have
I
to
put
transition.
some small amount because the implementation probably will take a couple of months, but it will not be a big amount.
let's just remember with introduction to make that
Right.
notification to the public again. Alright, any questions for Natalie regarding customer service? Okay, up next, we'll move on to building and grounds and public works director Jimmy Charles.
We have one full-time employee in public building and grounds. We get out to contracted services. With some of the stuff in town hall being, because of the renovations, we're pest control and stuff, we were able to make a little reduction in contracted services. Building maintenance, same thing, we don't have as much air conditioning, building maintenance and that type of stuff this year. Elevator inspection, so we had some building maintenance, some reductions there too.
Natalie covered the capital outlay and equipment and the revenues. Natalie, is there anything else you wanna add there? I think we covered everything in there.
There is a breakdown of the amounts that I have mentioned about the town hall renovations. And like I said, Rails and Trails is just the same name, but most likely will be shifted to different project.
Still staying in the same realm, the RCN side.
Yes.
And then I think everything else is self-explanatory. Any questions for Jimmy regarding, Jimmy regarding, building and grounds, Natalie regarding capital outlay and equipment? Okay, if not, we're gonna move on to, police department, and on the agenda, we have interim chief, Robert Fisher. However, I wanna formally introduce Chief Howard Brewer, thank you. Jackson, you covered round of applause, but I'll help out. And then, with that being said, Fisher's gonna be going to you were Lieutenant Fisher, then interim Chief Fisher. You will be settling at Captain Fisher. So congratulations on that. Thank you. so the two of you, I don't know how you wanna split that up, I'll let you guys handle that, but, cover the full-time equivalents, part-time dispatchers, the overtime, and then you can pick up in contracted services.
15 full-time officers and 1 record clerk and 4 full-time dispatchers, gives us 20. And then we have 4 positions for part-time dispatchers to help fill in. Then we go to overtime.
Yes, please.
I'm hoping that we're getting more officers permanent, so the overtime rate I kept is the same, to not have to pull as much from that. Just get down to.
You can go to contracted services after that. if you
The
want.
one bigger thing on contracted services, it's up 17,000 over last year. Majority of that is gonna be coming from Axon. Right now, we're paying $26,250 a year. The TASER contract has to be renewed. I bundled that with the body camera being renewed. I tried to add 2 LPR cameras targeted to be on Route 113.
People don't know what that means.
License plate reader cameras, so we can keep track of movement to and from, if we're looking for a person, looking for cars, looking for suspects. There are no cameras on 113 between Delaware and Virginia, or Cookville. So we'd have something that could help more than just us, you know, it could help other agencies.
But now, I mean, with that too, I wanna note that you and I had talked about this, and you said it in the staff meeting. We did receive a grant to cover some of that, however, some of
We
the.
received a grant to cover 2 cameras. We received 2 cameras.
Go ahead.
And then they sent us cameras that were good for 70 feet, and which does not hit any of 113. So we were told to send everything back to get cameras at 120 feet. The minute Arnold sent them back, the state withdrew all funding and said we get nothing.
So, yeah, it's one of those unfortunate situations.
So we went from having everything to having absolutely nothing.
And you all even insisted, why can't we just send back the
Right, we
camera?
just want to send the camera back, everything else works. So, pretty excellent. So we're adding everything together. The new contract with everything on it will be $42,550 a year. My goal will be to take some of the speed camera money that is left over and putting that as a down payment. If you remember 5 years ago with the TASER, it was $25,000 our contract. We put $20,000 down to lower the cost over the 5 years. So that's the goal now, is to take some of the speed camera money, put it as a down payment now, and then get the payments down from $42,550 to maybe somewhere around 31 or 32 for the next 5 years. But I don't know, I'm budgeting for the full amount in the budget. I don't know what the speed camera money's gonna be. We estimated the $42,550.
We'll have a better picture toward introduction.
Right, based on what we made last year, where we're at now, taking it 10%, 15% lower, not knowing who's gonna be speeding. But I feel confident with the 42, 45, 250, 42, 550, whatever it was. And it may be more than that, which could lower part of the contracted service. Skipping ahead to the next thing is actually a little bit higher. Vehicle maintenance is up 2,500, just because there's no such thing as a 29.9 will change anymore.
That's on page 18.
Everything.
And I'm still mad about it every time I get my oil
That's
change.
right. Right, travel, cell phone, you'll notice cell phones up 7,000 on those. However, we took, Verizon used to be under contracted services. Everything is now with AT&T, so in my cell phone line, we moved the MDT and the hotspots that we need for in the cars and for the cameras, or that's what made that cost more. It was just transferring from contracted services to the cell phone line. Training went up 1,500, just as everything is up. If someone goes, the hotels are more expensive, travel more expensive. IT went up 27,000, because we are migrating to Integris, not with who we've been with. So that's primarily the bulk of the cost there on the increase. Fuel increased $3,000. Everyone hopes fuel was only $3,000 more. No guarantee there, but I try to do my best, figuring out where people live, how far away they live, how many miles are
advertising, we traditionally had $500 into this account. Currently, for the amount of officers that we're down, most that we're putting out there right now is just blip on Facebook. That's not really meeting our target audience. But advertising goes beyond also recruitment. Advertising is also putting the Berlin Police Department out in the best light with a lot of different things as to our ongoing endeavors as well. Some of the things that we want to do is put some small video selections together and be able to put that out like on Instagram, TikTok, stuff like that. But it's going to cost some money to put those things together. I told the mayor going into this that most startup companies will spend about 30% of their revenues in advertisements just to get on board. And if you're trying to increase where you are currently, you want to stay about 20%. No way am I asking you for 20%. But definitely think that we need to increase it beyond $500 if we're serious about building the police department back up to where it should be.
$4,000 in a $3.3 million budget.
There you go.
And the last thing, supply, it's another $1,500, because vests come out of supply and operations. So if we're gonna need a couple extra vests, when heading through. And we did apply for a vest grant that pays for half of the vests for 2 people.
Thank you. All right. Any questions for Chief Brewer or Captain Bishop? Okay, moving on. Thank you, gentlemen. Public Works, Jimmy Charles, page 21.
Public Works has 9 full-time employees, 1 in Public Works.
Pick up a capital outlay.
What?
Do you want to be there on that? I would like that gentleman to leave at 8, so that's what we're working.
Public Works building is in
I would be too.
We went through, we were making little reductions in vehicle maintenance, even some of the other areas that we could, office supplies, advertising supplies, and operations, so
For the most part, I think.
making cuts where we could in Public Works, so.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any questions regarding Public Works? We are looking at less than a % increase in that budget.
Sanitation has 3 full-time employees. All 3 have CDLs and they all drive the trucks. We do have in our recycle truck this year, we have a bin, our plastic bin, and the slide compression it's 7, 8 years old. There's a lot of, you see milk products in that stuff in them type of areas, and it's just with acids that it's kind of deteriorated the bin. So we have 25,000, which actually is in streets right now, but that'll be to repair the recycle truck and bring that up to good working condition.
Thank you. Any questions in sanitation? Okay, move on to streets.
Streets has 5 full-time employees. One is our in our maintenance shop, which Bob does a lot of our maintenance that we would ship out and spend thousands of dollars in costs. So again, Bob does a great job along with the rest of the employees in that department. In our capital.
Before we go into that, just as an FYI for the public, the roadway evaluation update is just gonna help bring our street study current, to capture the projects that we've worked on, also identify any changes in like street conditions townwide, so that we can make sure we stay on track with that. All right, we can go on to, whether you wanna go to street repair or whether you wanna go to capital equipment.
We'll go to street repair. We have items in there that we always, for materials and stuff, areas that even having patch on hand, stones, dirt, for everything that we need in the street areas. Go into capital. We have budgeted for paving back to Branch, Flower, Schofield, and Ashland. Are back in the budget. This year we had to take the earlier this year to go to, Henry's, Henry's.
Thank you.
Um,
And these coincide with work that are gonna be done along with other utilities.
Correct.
That way, we try to match the two, so we're not cutting fresh pavement. I know we all know that, but just so the public knows.
Yes.
All right, cat, skid loader attachments.
Yep. We've been doing a lot more with the new cat we purchased last year, or last year's budget. We've actually did a lot of our in-house now. Clearing of the West Street parking lot was completely done in-house. Electric come in, helped to cut the trees down, but we were able to load everything up and haul it away and distribute it, like in this areas that we are. But we're doing a lot more stuff in-house. We just grinded, 15 stumps in the park. So we're getting in there with this equipment, and we're actually doing a lot more in-house clearing and stuff. We have big plans in the parks this year too, with the equipment that we're purchasing.
Thank you.
I think a conscious effort needs to be put on educating the public on possible damage to our trash truck that yard waste can do. Jimmy explained to me the dynamics of hydraulics, meaning dirt and grime, and it's not a good mix. And it actually jeopardizes the well-being of that couple $100,000 equipment. We really need to do a better job of letting the public know that.
And this is the time of year we're seeing trash cans with grass clippings, bushes, shrubs, and that gets into the arms, cause it's all hydraulic, it's all oil generated. That's dumped into the bed of the hoppers. They're sliding with, and that dirt gets in there, and that's what can cause that to shift a little bit, and then it doesn't, then you get breakage, and it's.
It's
and
expensive.
And a $400,000 truck, parts are not cheap.
No $29.99 oil change there.
That don't even cover a filter on some of these trucks, $20. Some of the filters are $100 and some dollars. Back to streets, I think that, again, we made deductions in areas that we could help with the budget.
Thank you. And then let's see. Any questions?
Go ahead, I'll speak to economic development.
Okay, any questions regarding streets? Thank you. Mary, you wanna take economic development, page 29?
Ivy was unexpectedly unable to attend, so I will try to pinch it. But, the main thing that you'll see on hers is the purchase, excuse me, of a replacement vehicle for that department. 45,000 has been budgeted for capital outlay equipment for that. There's also a significant increase in utilities, because with far more people in the welcome center, obviously, those costs are gonna go up significantly.
That's something, Mayor, I'm gonna look into. I have placed that under the visitor center because obviously we're there. But I'm also keeping some amount under town hall because we have to clarify if the contractor is gonna be connected and paying separately or, so we'll figure out. We will make adjustment on either here or the town hall part.
Thank you.
That's really all I can.
I'll add a few things. So the Ford Maverick truck is similar to like what we have in planning. The request is that they throw the stuff in the back of the vehicle now for like town events and stuff. And
Right,
we
they're always
tested-
hauling signs and
Yep,
things like
they
that. so it
tested
makes
the
sense.
Ford Maverick, they like that for economic development. Additionally, you'll see, Natalie covered some of this, but when you look at some of the event contracted services, that's up on page 29. You can peruse that on your own time or ask any questions you may have. Going through travel, it's like every other year, sometimes she gets it funded through a grant in 1 year. This cycle is a year where the town's funding it, next year is likely that we'll try again for grant funding. Dues and publications, I think are flat. I think that's everything. Any questions for economic development? Moving on, let's go to planning, Ryan?
4 full-time employees in planning. Professional services, I say the same, that's for legal support. Contracted services has gone down. Capital outlay has gone down substantially. That is just for the impact fee studies is what's on there right now.
And last year it included the comp
The comp
plan,
plan.
so,
Mhm.
yep.
Dues and publications, that's for maintaining SOA, credits for 2 members. Employee training, that's the same as the classes and the MDE trainings, as well as conference. And office supplies, that's gonna be for a new computer for the permit coordinator, and then I would like to have an iPad and mobile printer for the code enforcement officer, so that they're fully mobile. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for planning?
Yeah, and I guess for now, is the Tyler, planning module built into this budget, or is it in
It's in the
It's in
service.
All right, let's move on to Parks and Rec, and Jimmy, you got that?
Yes, we'll start with contracted services. I think mosquito control went up a little bit this year, and that's by the increase in there. Still have annual playground inspections. We'll work with Kate earlier, more for park signage and stuff this year. The capital outlay, we're using the money that was in there this year to do repairs and some around the Stephen Decatur Park, with the Henry Park fence is back in to be completely tore down and re-put up.
So just to clarify, we budgeted the capital project for fence. We do not carry the money, we have
Correct.
expense that on a different project.
But still in the park.
Yes, in the parks, but the project for fence is the budget.
Again, down where, supplies and operations, we still do our maintenance and stuff, add new mulch in the playground areas. Engineered wood grain fiber. And, covers stain areas and, replacing nets and all that stuff.
Thank you. Any questions regarding Parks and Rec? All right, let's move on to agenda item 8, debt service updates from the finance director.
We have, several bonds that carried forward for many, many years and will be closed eventually in like 2040. We have additional debt placed, for public works. And we have closed one bond last year, completely paid in full. So this is the principal and interest for fiscal 27, which equals $437,000.
All right, any questions regarding the debt service? Seeing none, let's move on to agenda item 9, comments from the council, starting with VP Burrell.
I don't know why I didn't ask this question during the presentation, but, I would like to have, coming from each office, activities related to overtime. Each one of these budgets had overtime budgeted. And I'd just like to know what that breakdown is and what are the activities.
Sure. Chelsea, do you wanna?
I was gonna say for a lot of the field, like, well, Public Works, it's gonna be a lot of events, weekends, you know, that they're coming in. Water Resources, they do weekend rounds, so they have, you know, someone has to be here. Yeah, I'm saying,
Can you just?
I can't speak
email
to what
me?
they're doing. I mean, I know generally, but, the departments are gonna have to, I know
We can do a
I
summary.
know the amounts,
Yeah.
but the
I
departments are
think
gonna
it's
have to.
primarily events and call-outs.
Yeah.
The police department would
Snow
be
removal.
over because of calls.
I'll send
But we
an
can
email.
certainly do
I'll
that.
forward it to the email, but I just.
Sure, appreciate it. Thank you kindly.
What, 19, events?
I don't think he needs a full description. Just send him an email.
Snow removal is a big thing.
Send Send them an email.
Send me an email.
Alright, anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay.
I'll just say, facing a $411,000 deficit, that's gonna be a solid challenge to overcome. I know we have some health, savings there, which will be significant, hopefully. Does, mayor or staff have any recommendations?
I'll address that.
Okay, good. That's what I want to hear from you.
Yeah, let's see here.
Alright, so, let's start with that. So the deficit, in addition to the $411,000 deficit, almost $412,000 deficit in the general fund, we have no contingency in the general fund, which is not a good position to be in. In the event that anything comes unexpected, we have no backup plan for that. Fire and EMS funding's flat, and I think that what we're gonna have to do is keep an eye on where the healthcare numbers come in at. Natalie has a strategy for some of the capital funding stuff. We might have to shift some stuff to future fiscal years, but that's not a good practice, nor is it a sustainable practice. And I think that we talked about this a little bit internally during our staff meeting. I think we're gonna have to move a little bit. How many years has it been with the tax rate that we're in?
We're going into year 6.
Year 6. So I think that it's not gonna be a drastic move this year. I think that if we move a penny and a quarter of a penny, that I think that's something that's gonna be in conjunction with some of the other levers. And we didn't get there on a whim, right? We understand that the costs for every single person have gone up. The costs for all residents across the board. We're seeing more at the grocery store. We're seeing more when we go out and buy different goods in other places. Service contracts are coming in much higher, whether you're doing things for your home or whether you're going out and buying something. It's not uncommon to see that price increase. Well, those things that you see on the residential side, we see the same thing here at the town level. And they go back to the start of the COVID-19 pandemic when prices really went up. And over those 5-6 fiscal years, what we've tried to do is hope that there's gonna be a downward turn in some of that pricing. We've not really seen that. Equipment costs and pricing overall have remained high. We are continuing to draw year over year from our reserves in areas where we shouldn't be drawing from reserves. With that being said, to help prevent a future year like what we all saw with a 20% tax increase, I do think moving a penny and a quarter of a penny this fiscal year would probably be prudent. So I think we're gonna have to have multiple approaches to whittling this down, because this isn't where we started, right? A $411,000 deficit is not where we started. So we've worked that down ourselves internally. We've got some more things that I think we can move on, but then a modest, really a modest increase in the tax rate, I think, could level us out. I think we ran some numbers on a $500,000 home, like $60 for the year. So I think $60 is $60. I don't want to discount that. I know that if you have folks that are living paycheck to paycheck or worried about whether I buy my medication or whether I do something else, we certainly understand those things, and we know $60 goes a long way. However, when we're looking at these price increases that we're facing, I think we're gonna have, I don't see another way. Unless the council has another way forward, I don't.
I hear what you're saying, but we also have to be aware of the fact that we may be increasing water and sewer rates too. So when you double down on these increases, it hits people hard.
I don't think you'll be seeing water and sewer rates increase this fiscal year. I think that might be a future fiscal year increase, like subsequent fiscal years. It'll be combined with a rate study, and then also time usage. So we currently bill by the 1,000 gallons. We're gonna go to billing by the gallon. So I think the net change for folks would be more of a nominal thing, especially if you pair that with some conservation. Now, electric, I don't know where that's gonna go. We are gonna do a rate case study, but I don't know where that's gonna
It's
die
not
down.
gonna be in that fiscal 27
Yeah.
with the electric.
Yeah,
because
you're looking at-
It's gonna take time, and we have to go in front of Public Service Commission for the hearing to get that into the tariff. It's gonna take a little bit.
This fiscal year, I think all you would see from a recommendation standpoint is a penny and a quarter of a penny.
A penny gives us how much?
A penny gives us,
Roughly?
one penny gives us $63,453. 64,000 rounded up.
I just
penny and a quarter of a penny gives us roughly 79,000. 80,000 around 2,000.
The only thing I just want to remind, we did increase taxes the first year I was on the council, just FY '23, we increased by a penny a quarter, so 3 years ago.
Okay.
Just one,
I mean, we're open ears, so I know some folks might be watching this now, some folks are in attendance. If you have ideas, we're open to those things. We do not have to introduce a tax rate until, when is that, Natalie? Monday. Is it Monday night? Okay, so we don't have far.
yeah, that's a lot, you know, how do we, without another meeting, without having all the information, how do we do that?
I don't, it's an introduction, it's not action. That's you all have the nice part, right? You have the liberty of having a couple extra weeks before action. I have to produce a tax rate at that time. So what I'm telling you all is that it's likely gonna be a penny plus a quarter of a penny. But as we gain more information, we might be able to figure out different pathways. But likely for the introduction, looking at the numbers that we're looking at now, we're gonna increase the tax rate a penny and a quarter of a penny, coming into this. But as we gain more information, certainly it'll help us be able to figure that out, and the public comment associated with the tax rate would be held on what date, Natalie? I had it in front of me, I thought somebody had it quicker.
I think it's May 11th, it's a public hearing on the tax rate adoption and constant mill rate by the council, May 11th.
Yes.
Yeah, so-
The introduction is next week.
So it's a pretty nice spread of time, right? But we do have to introduce the tax rate for the publishing side of things. What's that?
I just have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like-
Just names for the public record.
Connecting Jefferson. So is the budget already gonna be submitted by the time that the tax rate? Like,
Nope.
So when we have that meeting, people actually have a good idea, it's able to be implemented.
So,
You
we
see what
have
I'm
to,
saying?
so I think so. Let me see if I can answer it, and if I miss something, please correct me. So we have to do the tax rate first so that we can build out the budget.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that makes sense.
the mayor's office has to introduce a tax rate, and then there's a period of time where we still get more information, and then there's action
So
on that.
budget approval would not be until after that?
Correct,
Okay.
yep.
Budget, first reading of the budget is May 26th. Approval is June 8th. My dates might be off, but
So we have to introduce the budget, the mayor's office has to introduce the budget on June 8th,
Makes sense, I just was
so it's a Tuesday.
and then action is on the 22nd.
Tax rate can change.
Tax rate could change from the introduction.
Yeah.
The introduction of the tax rate, yes, it could change from the introduction of the tax rate to the action on the tax rate.
Yeah.
After that, it's a little bit more difficult to start moving things around. Does that answer the
Yeah,
question?
for sure.
It does make it confusing.
No, I was just curious, is it gonna be done before the budget was already gonna be submitted before the meeting? It's like,
Before the budget.
I get it, that makes sense.
So,
And that's based on timing of what we're required to report to the state, more so than what our timing is.
Got it, cool, thanks.
all right, and then if there's nothing else,
Move to adjourn.
all in favor? Let that gentleman know he can go home.